If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 266 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on October 12th of the year 2025 with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you, coming to you live from the Echo Chamber. Thank you very much once again. I'm sure you could all imagine the kind of mood I'm in today. 7 seasons of Yapping Yankees in the books. 7 eulogies now as of today as we get ready to put yet another Yankee team out to pasture as the annual simulation of incomprehensible disappointment and letdown continues once again. Something told me that I would be coming to you today on October 12th. We knew when we last yapped a couple of weeks ago that we were either going to be talking about the Yankees being eliminated or we were going to be preparing for the Yankees to be taking part in the first game of the ALCS, which is happening tonight, Sunday the 12th. Something told me that it was unfortunately going to be the former. I had confidence. I won't pretend like I didn't. I was certainly optimistic the last time we yapped here. But I had my points of concern, as we also know. I was very balanced and objective about it. I said a lot of things like the bullpen really worried me. The starting rotation I was mostly confident in. And the offense, I thought that they would have their bad days like every offense does, but more often than not, they would come through. The details of what actually happened, we'll cover it all in just a little bit, obviously. In case you've been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, the last time we did yap was the last day of the regular season, so the playoffs hadn't even begun yet. We knew what the Yankees' final positioning was, because it was after all of the Game 162s throughout the league were done. So we knew the Yankees were the first wild card. Blue Jays got the tiebreaker. We knew the Red Sox were the second wild card, Detroit the third. Top 2 best teams in the league, Toronto being the 1 seed, thanks to the tiebreaker again. The Mariners being the 2 seed, and Cleveland being the 3rd seed, or the 3rd best division winner. So the wild card round is going to be Yankees-Red Sox at Yankee Stadium, best of 3. And the other American League series was going to be Cleveland and Detroit, with sort of the ultimate rematch, since they had just seen each other about a week or two prior to that, once the Tigers' full-on division collapse had been fully realized. So that was the second American League wild card series matchup, best of 3. Tigers and Guardians. And again, we'll go over the results of everything, especially the Yankees and Red Sox in detail, and also what would be the following series. We know where we're at now. The ALCS is still beginning tonight, obviously, but it is featuring the Blue Jays and the Mariners. The Yankees are obviously not taking part in that because they got their asses handed to them by who ultimately proved themselves to be the far better team in the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, we'll get to all of this later. I know you all already know what happened, but this is my first time talking to you in a couple of weeks, so got to wrap things up here for yet another season for the Yankees. Same thing, just a different year. And that's what I just start to feel at this point, you know? That's really all there is to it. There's not really much else to say vaguely. I mean, there's plenty of other things to get to and talk about vividly, more so in detail, but that's the deal for now. I did, after giving that vague background to start the show, actually wanted to go into the next note sort of on a high note, because I actually do have a point of good news for you in case you do not happen to follow me on social media. And again, when it comes to me, you are living under a rock. In case you are doing that, or living like that, I should say, I actually do have something that makes this episode not an entirely doom and gloom one, believe it or not. And given the context of what has recently happened with our Yankees, I'm pretty sure you probably tuned into this episode to hear nothing but negativity and sadness, anger, ranting even, which I tend to do a lot of the time when the Yankees are eliminated. I will tell you right now, spoiler alert, I'm not going to do too much yelling, if any, because honestly, guys, like I said before, I'm referring to this as you see in the episode title, the annual simulation, because how many years are you going to see the same thing just with different minute details every year and continue to almost pop a blood vessel over it? At some point, you become numb to certain things, especially when it mirrors a lot of things you maybe just even witnessed, I don't know, as recently as the very year prior in the playoffs. How are you going to be equally as mad at it when you've seen it before? For some people, it might have that effect, like, oh, you're seeing it again. It's almost like a time loop. So it makes you that much more frustrated to see that they haven't learned anything. And of course, there's that part of me that goes off, obviously. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't. And maybe that's where a little bit of yelling will surface in a little while. But to the degree that you're probably expecting, to the point where I'm probably going to disturb my landlords next door, probably not to that point anymore. Because again, there's a certain numbness that you achieve, I think, when you see something a certain amount of times, year after year after year after year, after year after year after year. In my case, this being the 7th time we're seeing the Yankees being eliminated since I started Yapping Yankees back in the earlier part of the 2019 season. We've been here for a while covering the Yankees on this show, so it's nothing new. It's been nothing but heartbreak in the very end for this team every year. So that's why I say that. But anyway, back to my good news. I definitely want to talk about this before we get too entrenched in some deep Yankees discussion to take us to the end today. And honestly, just one more thing before I get into my good news, just my ADD all over the place. But today, I don't even really have a set plan as far as notes or bullet points, because I usually just do a couple of bullet points as reminders of things to talk about and certain directions I want to go at certain points throughout each episode. Just sort of good to have a minor roadmap when you're doing content. You know, it's just for organizational purposes. Most of my fellow content creators, if not all of them, know what I mean by that. But today, I got nothing prepared. I'm just coming in today, and I've done plenty of episodes like this, but this is yet another one. And I've done most of my elimination episodes at the end of each season like this, because it's best to just do this for this sort of discussion, I find. But I'm just shooting from the hip today, entirely. Got nothing prepared. Everything that I say today is locked into my memory, so if I forget anything, I apologize. But I find that I do my best work on the fly generally anyway. But shooting from the hip when you're feeling this kind of emotion that you're feeling, even if it's just numbness mostly, I find that this is the best way to go about things. So I got nothing prepared today and nothing to reference at all. So I'll try to remember absolutely every little detail, but that's the way I'm doing today. So whatever direction this show goes in, and there's no social media segment either, I just kind of want to sit here and talk to you. So just kick your feet up and relax and enjoy the show. But other than that, I got real no roadmap for how this thing is going. I might mention a couple of the biggest discussions we might talk about for the few episodes I'll do throughout this offseason. But other than that, it's just going to be recapping things and just taking the show wherever it leads me. That's how I'm going to do it. Just wherever the wind leads me, that's where I'll go. But as of right now, my big news. So last week, you know that I didn't do an episode despite everything going on, and I know the timing was remarkably poor when it comes to the scope of what was going on with the Yankees. But I was away, as you know. That's why I didn't do an episode. Now, I wasn't just away on any trip, and obviously I couldn't discuss this at the time because it would have spoiled things. Now, if you follow me on social media, any of them just about, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which I plug every week, Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY, Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero, Instagram, Mike Scuds97. We love our shameless plugs. But if you follow me on social media or know me personally, obviously even more so in this case, you probably already know what I'm mentioning right now, or I'm getting ready to mention. But in the event that you don't, then I got some big news. Last weekend, my girlfriend, or previously girlfriend, and not for a bad reason, Victoria and I went up to Lake George for the weekend. That's where we went to go away. We've gone there a few times because it's our personal getaway. It's a special place for us. Just go up there, spend a nice long weekend. Usually we've done it 3 or 4 times now. But last weekend was no ordinary trip up to Lake George. Because when we got there, there are a lot of surrounding details to it. You can go check out some pictures on my Instagram or some posts that I put. The posts that I put on Twitter as well. And I also have the news right on my Facebook page. But we went up there, and when we arrived there early in the afternoon on Saturday, I had her friends up there as a surprise for them to also take part in what I would do shortly thereafter. After she greeted her friends, she turned around to see yours truly on one knee. That is right. I am officially engaged.
Holy crap! Oh my God!
Yay!
This is where the fun begins.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. So many appearances. We got Anakin Skywalker. We've got Joseph Joestar. We have Frank Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond. We got Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. That's a new sound effect, by the way. Nice one to add to the repertoire. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin. We have Emperor Palpatine. Then we have a round of applause once again. Oh my god. Sound effects running rampant. Got a mind of their own, going friggin' berserk there. Wow. On a serious note, though, hope you enjoyed that sound effect barrage, but on a serious note, yes, I am engaged. Victoria did say yes, thank God, because Lord knows I'm a handful, so... So yeah, I'm engaged, guys, and the love and support that I received up and down from friends, family, everybody. I mean, I have no words over it still now over a week later. It happened last Saturday, so 8 days, I am an engaged man now, which is still so surreal to say. It's very weird, and I'm pretty sure it's even, like, still surreal to Victoria, but just so happy, honestly, and I couldn't be happier at how smoothly and beautifully it went too, and the fact that it was in such a beautiful place that's so meaningful to us with her friends there, and we just had a great time the rest of the day with them. It was just picture perfect, honestly. I couldn't have had it any better, and I'm thrilled about it. I'm beyond thrilled, and I still have a hard time finding the words for it, because again, the fact that I'm engaged is beyond, like, unbelievable to me. I'm somebody's fiance, like, holy crap. So that's that. I just wanted to share that news with you guys. Since that happened last Saturday, I am engaged. Again, sounds crazy to say that, but I am. So that is the latest. So again, not complete doom and gloom today, right? It's a point of happiness there. I know I am. And I'm definitely thrilled that it came on today's episode where I'm sort of just downtrodden because of the Yankees. I want some point of happiness here, like something I can be optimistic about. So that's really good. And I could not wait to tell you guys. It's just that I had to keep it vague last weekend by just saying I'm just going away for the weekend because Victoria listens to this show. So that would have been a really crappy spoiler, wouldn't you think so? So that was the deal. That was the deal last weekend. So hopefully now you understand even more so why it is that I missed an episode that was as important as it was during playoff time. Because it is worth it when it comes to something as extreme as that. So hopefully you understand even more so now that it wasn't just an ordinary vacation. So the weekend was fantastic. Not everything going on during the weekend, particularly when it comes to the Yankees, was fantastic. But on a personal level, it was all fantastic. That's the point. So just wanted to update you all on that and all the good news surrounding that. Now, I guess I can't afford to avoid the main subject matter for much longer. I know what you're all here to hear. So, I really don't want to talk about this. I really came up to my computer tonight just like dreading talking Yankees talk. I'm truly sick of having the same conversation every year. I'm really sick of it. And to be honest, a big reason why I'm as sick of it as I am is because I don't know if it's ever going to be different, at least for the foreseeable future. I just don't think that this current regime, whether it be front office, group on the field, in the dugout, what have you, I don't think these guys are going to win at this point, guys. I don't think they're going to win. I know that we spoke about this going into 2025 and maybe even in 24, that I said I give this current window of Yankee players and this current regime here, I give them until like 2027 before I say that Judge is probably just going to age out a bit. Not age out, but you might start to see a bit of a decline. Not age out. I shouldn't have said it that strongly, but you might see a difference in his gameplay as he continues to age. That's the point. That's only natural. I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary. Cole's going to be a couple of years older, maybe transitioning to his late 30s by then. And, a couple of the focal pieces of this group are going to be getting older. And maybe some younger pieces are able to come up and gel with that if it doesn't happen as quickly as we think it might with the older players getting older. And then maybe they do something after 2027 before Judge and Cole and, the big centerpieces of the team are gone. And they prove me completely wrong. Hell, I hope they do. I love being proven wrong in instances like this. I'm losing faith as the years pass, guys. Until I just say an entirely different group's going to have to try to tackle this someday because I don't know. I see the same crap every year with not much attention being drawn to even the simplest of things. Like, again, it's unbelievable to me that towards the end of what was the last game against the Blue Jays, I had to see yet another big error that played a big part in the score just becoming unreachable for what was mostly a very quiet offense in the ALDS. And for even a chunk of the Red Sox series, for as brief as it was, but they had trouble scoring runs plenty of times in that series too. And I know a lot of people are going to mention, they scored 7 runs in the second game, bro. Not before they allowed 11, and then ultimately 13. So who gives a crap? They were never coming back. Come on now. Stop it. But in that last game, to have the score become unreachable, I had to watch Jazz, who, I give the guy credit for everything he accomplished offensively, going over 30-30 for a second baseman and saying that when it comes strictly to his numbers, you're probably not seeing that kind of production out of many others, if any other second baseman throughout baseball, and I still stick by that. But I also am always sure to mention that Jazz will also do a lot of stupid things sometimes that drive you insane. Well, it was put on display right there now, wasn't it? After 2024, we had to see Game 5, Inning 5. Had to see the single most embarrassing inning in the history of the World Series. And towards the end of this game, of the last game, Game 4 in the ALDS, had to see another big error take place, this time at the hands of Jazz, rather than Judge and Cole not covering first and Volpe making a poor throw to third like he did as well. This time it had to be Jazz. Just really taking the score out of range for what was mostly a quiet Yankees offense in this series. And having that be a big reason, yet again, a big stain on what was already a big mess for the ending that was 2025. So again, just seeing a lot of the same things that just continuously are not addressed or overlooked or downplayed. The offense going quiet again despite leading in so many categories this year as they do almost every year, because the regular season is always fine for the Yankees for the most part, except for 2023. I mean, how many years in a row now they made the playoffs? 2017, up to 2026 all in a row now, except for 23. That's it. So it's just clear what this team is always meant to do. Like I said at the beginning of the season, what was my prediction? I said they would win 94, 95 games this year. Go back and listen to the spring training episodes if you don't believe me. I said they would do exactly the same as last year, or maybe a game better, since I happen to like, on paper, the 2025 team more than the 24 team. I felt that the pivoting that they did actually helped to cover more holes that the 2024 team really had, and I feel were exposed ultimately. 2025 team had plugged some of those holes, I felt. So I gave them maybe another extra game or two winning because of that. And it finished just about the same way. Same record as 24, so give or take minus, 1 or 2 wins. My prediction on that was nailed, more or less. It's a 162-game season. It's hard to nail the exact win-loss count, but it was within a game. And I said before the season started, as much as I wanted to say the Yankees will win the World Series, and I felt they could have, I said I feel they will make the playoffs, definitely, especially in the age of expanded playoff format. That's really not that hard a prediction to make. But I felt ultimately that they were going to come up short eventually. I didn't know against who or when. I just knew that ultimately they would not make it all the way to the end and be the last team standing. I just still had a bad feeling about it. And I was also saying that at the time, I still felt like the Dodgers were just going to win again. And hey, spoiler alert, who's surprised? They're still in it, the Dodgers. They're going to the NLCS to face the Brewers, who just beat the Cubs yesterday, which I'm very upset about. I wanted the Cubbies to move on, and they fought for a Game 5, and then they just went dead offensively themselves, too. Don't worry, Cubby fans. I feel your pain. Your offense going deader than a rotting corpse in an elimination game. I feel you there. So now I don't really care what happens from here on out. I don't care about Seattle. I don't care about the Blue Jays. Yeah, I could say, yeah, I want the Blue Jays to lose for taking the Yankees out, but who the hell really cares at the end of the day? The Blue Jays deserve to move on. They took the Yankees to the cleaners, guys. It's fine to admit. So I couldn't care less about either of those two. And the Dodgers and Brewers, who cares about them either? I mean, the Brewers are an exciting story. They've never won the World Series before, so fine, whatever. But it's going to take a lot to convince me that they're just not going to choke it away, and the Dodgers aren't just going to win again. I know they're going to win again. I'll be shocked if they don't. Pleasantly surprised, but shocked. So I don't really care what happens from here on out. But the point is, I knew that the Yankees were not going to make it to the end. I just had a feeling going into the season, and I hate to be right here. These are the instances where I hate to be right. I've been right plenty. I've been wrong plenty, as have most of us. But I'm numb. I don't really know what else to say about it, guys. I'm numb to it. Even when a lot of the devastating things were happening to the Yankees, like in whatever game you want to reference, I just kind of sat there. I don't want to say dumbfounded, because dumbfounded implies that it's things you haven't seen before or you never really could have ever expected. Just kind of like, I don't know, blank. That's the best word I could think of right now. Maybe I was a little dumbfounded and shocked that they allowed things to get as preposterously bad and laughably awful as they did in the first 2 games of the ALDS against the Blue Jays, because when I say they got taken to the cleaners, I mean, like, the first 2 games were not even remotely competitive. It was actually a laughable effort. They were out of the game before you even had a chance to blink or really settle into your seat to get ready for a nice 3 hours of baseball. Before you knew it, they were getting shellacked. Their asses handed to them on a platinum platter. Not even a silver platter. A platinum platter. That's how stunning the incompetence was. Everything ultimately unraveled. And things even got a little bit hairy in the Red Sox series, I'll be honest. I mean, we could go through it now. We'll go through each game in detail. There's really not that much to go through, just 7 games. But we don't even have to really go in detail in a few of them, because at least a couple of them were completely non-competitive. So this will be a fairly quick recap, the last one, not even a weekly recap, just a postseason recap since it's already over. So, we only have so much to talk about. But we can talk about the games now if you want. We can get into it. We could start with the Red Sox series and move our way up. And heading into the Red Sox series, if you remember what I was saying 2 weeks ago, I was saying that the Red Sox worried me because of their couple of really key pieces they had on their team, especially Garrett Crochet being in Game 1, and Game 1 being a real important tone setter for the series because it is such a short one. Every team before this one, in the couple of years that this best of 3 in the wild card round has been in existence, every team that has gone down in Game 1 has gone on to lose the series. Nobody ever won the 2 in a row to still salvage the series in 3. Fortunately for the Yankees, they would make history in that sense. They'd be the first ones to do that. But because there was that potential and that thought in the back of my mind, and the fact that Bayo had pitched good against the Yankees at certain times too, and if they didn't do it then they were never going to do it. They're going to be done. Because all you had to do was win 2 games to move on. And the Sox had already handed the Yankees their asses plenty of times throughout the regular season. Although, yes, the regular season does no longer matter once the postseason begins. I understand that. But you try to take things from multiple points of view and multiple pieces of evidence to formulate what you think is ultimately going to happen. That's what we all do. So I said that the Yankees could very well move on, and I had the Yankees ever so slightly with an edge moving on, but I was very uncomfortable. And I'm not lying about that either. Go back and listen to the last episode a couple of weeks ago. I was very uneasy about the Yankees-Red Sox series. I honestly didn't know who to pick. Ultimately, going in, once Game 1 actually started, you wouldn't know this because this was a couple of days after the last time we yapped here, but when Game 1 was getting ready to begin, I was saying in my head, I was like, I guess I'll give the Yankees a slight edge because truly, on paper, the Yankees were a better team. They were better. And I'm glad ultimately that was proven, and rightfully so, because the Yankees did end up moving on. But it was literally 55 to 45. It was really close. I barely gave them an edge because of how uncomfortable I was. And Game 1 proved my uncomfortability to be valid because the Red Sox did steal Game 1 and Garrett Crochet, other than there being the ultimate cosmic coincidence of Anthony Volpe accidentally running into a fastball and planting it into the right field seats for a miraculous solo shot early in the game. Other than that, Crochet pitched an absolute masterclass against the Yankees, and the Red Sox jumped out in front in Game 1. Crochet pitched the exact kind of gem I just had a feeling he would. Not only because of past performances against the Yankees, and the Yankees may struggle against lefties every now and again, even if they have their righty lineup. Crochet is just that dominating. I expected nothing less, honestly, and I was even surprised when Volpe beyond accidentally ran into a fastball, and actually the Yankees managed to get a run up on the board early because of that. In the second inning, they jumped out in front first on that, but other than that, Crochet was just in total, complete control, guys. 7 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, 11 strikeouts. Dominance. That's all there was to it. Utter dominance. And there was a point of controversy in this game, obviously, because his counterpart, Max Fried, had held that very slim 1-0 lead all the way through to the end of his outing. Fried tossed a gem as well. 6 1/3, 4 hits, no runs, so 6 1/3 shutout, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Now, there was some uncomfortable feelings about Fried coming into this because Fried, as incredible of a season as he had, and we've spoken all about it, Fried's playoff history is kind of all over the place. And this postseason was a fine example of that. Just 2 outings, and you saw exactly what I meant by that, and what history indicated ended up being true once again. It often does come true. But this time he was fantastic. But he tends to be very up and down. Usually nothing middle ground for him in the playoffs. He's either very good or he is very bad in the playoffs. That's what history indicated throughout all of his years with the Braves. This time, terrific. Now, towards the end of his outing, he had finished his outing with 102 pitches. Boone took him out after he got Duran out to start the 7th. Took him out of the game. Now, there was controversy surrounding this, and partially rightfully so, I would say. Not completely, because people were crapping on Boone for taking his interim ace out with 102 pitches when there was no one on base, there was one out, could have maybe gotten 2 more outs. Now, the only reason apparently that he did start the 7th was because he got a good double play to clutch up the 6th, and then he wanted to leave him in for Duran, the lefty, to start the 7th, which is understandable. I personally would have managed it differently in the sense that I would have taken it batter by batter in the 7th. I wouldn't have hated if Fried reached 110 pitches. I'm not a 100-pitch psychopath like a lot of people are nowadays. I do agree with the fact that Fried did look like, however, towards the end of the 6th and even into the 7th, he looked like he was beginning to tire out. I'm not going to make believe like I didn't feel that way. I did to a degree. But that is also your interim ace. You put your trust in him, take it batter by batter, you do what you got to do. Let him hold on to the ball until it's absolutely clear, evidence-wise, that he doesn't have it anymore. He did appear tired, but he got the first out and there was still no one on base. You had a lead. Now, if he allowed a base runner, 2 at the most, gone. Hook him. Or if he allowed a solo shot to allow the game to be tied. Hook him. Done. Nothing was going on, though. Because of that, I do not agree with pulling him there immediately. I think it should have gone batter by batter for the rest of the 7th, especially since it was the bottom of the lineup. Now, beyond that, that's only a little bit of the blame. I only partially blame that. The majority of the blame goes to, once again, and it's a perfect indicator from what I was saying, one of the reasons I was concerned about the Yankees in the playoffs. It highly depended on how their bullpen was going to be. Well, that really did end up being the main indicator for this game, now wasn't it? The offense was quiet. Going into the later part of the game, they only had a handful of hits, one of them being Volpe's accidental home run in the 2nd inning. That's it. So they were quiet. They could have done more work too, absolutely. But the Yankee bullpen, after Fried was taken out, when he was, yes, looking a bit tired, although, again, I don't completely agree with the immediate pull there. Don't have to repeat myself. But once it happens, it is the job of the bullpen, especially when you're talking about the back end of it, to come in, do your job, and hold the lead, however slim. Especially when you're facing hitters like the 8 and 9 hitters. Luke Weaver was called upon. Now, we know how Luke has been since he came back from his injury. Before his injury, in the way earlier part of the year, we still had pretty much 2024 Weaver, who was virtually untouchable. Off the charts, lovable, just all around great. Fan favorite, and rightfully so. Since the injury, since he returned from injury, we know what Luke Weaver has been. He has been beyond up and down. There have been times where he pulls on the old heartstrings, goes a few outings in a row, looks like the Luke Weaver of 2024 and Luke Weaver of old since they acquired him. But then plenty of other times, he would look like an imposter. And he was an utter disaster. Couldn't get anybody out. Couldn't throw strikes. His velo may have been a couple of ticks lower, and he was just laying it in there for the taking. And unfortunately here we got the latter once again. So beyond inconsistent and unstable, Luke Weaver was the addition we got this time. He has a long, extended double-digit at-bat with Rafaela, and inexcusably puts him on base, especially considering his speed. From this point forward, the inning completely unraveled. Completely unraveled. In just utter abhorrent and inexcusable fashion on Weaver's part. So he walked Nick Sogard gets a double to send Rafaela to third. So now it's second and third with one out, the one out that Fried got to start the inning. And then Masataka Yoshida comes up off the bench, which, my God, bro, is pretty much freaking God coming off the bench in this series. Freaking killed them. It's wild. Comes off the bench, gets a 2-run single right up the middle, give the Red Sox a 2-1 lead. They would never look back. So Weaver came in and didn't retire anybody. Walk, double, single. Before you knew it, Yankees down. Slim lead, gone.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah. Weaver really has stunk. And it's sad because we love the guy personally, but just can't be done. So then Cruz comes in and while not looking absolutely sharp himself, gets the job done. Bottom of the 7th, you're hoping the Yankees answer back with absolutely anything possible. And they don't. Bellinger, Stanton, Rosario, boom, 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 done 1, 2, 3. Red Sox don't score in the top of the 8th. The Yankees don't do anything in the bottom of the 8th, bottom of the lineup. Trent, Volpe, Wells, nothing. Volpe got a single, but that's, other than that, just nothing really happened. Top of the 9th, the Red Sox would add on, RBI double by Alex Bregman. Now it's 3-1 in a game where the Yankees were just looking absolutely dead. And then the bottom of the 9th, that's just the definition of teasing, inexcusable, baffling. I mean, only the Yankees can pull this off. Goldschmidt, Judge, Bellinger. 3 singles in a row to start it off of Chapman, no less. For the love of God. So the bases are loaded with nobody out. Now, Chapman had just gotten done getting the last out of the 8th inning because unlike Aaron Boone, Alex Cora, despite circumstances being different, Crochet not looking a bit tired like Fried did, but Cora had believed in his ace, Crochet, let him get all the way towards the end of the 8th inning, allowing a direct handoff straight to his closer so the rest of his bullpen could remain fresh. Beyond ideal, that's how you'd want it in a perfect world. That's how Cora was able to maneuver it thanks to Crochet's masterclass. So Chapman had just finished off the 8th inning, efficiently mind you, just getting the last out. And then now he's starting the top of the 9th, and he gives up 3 hits in a row. So you're like, holy crap, maybe this is what the Yankees needed. He had to pitch the end of the 8th inning, and he's been so immaculate. Maybe this is where that karma finally comes around for where he was like on a godly level during the season was Chapman. And now he just remarkably blows the first game of the postseason against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Poetic justice, Chapman against the Yankees in a very important first game of a short series. Bases loaded, nobody out. We have it made, right? Wrong. Only the Yankees, bases loaded, nobody out. Do we not see any runs? Stanton strikes out. Jazz flies out to right, not deep enough. Trent strikes out. Game over. In a fashion only the Yankees could accomplish. Bases loaded, nobody out, no runs, Yankees lose 3-1. And like I said, in the history, in the very brief history of the wild card round's very brief existence, you never had a team go down 1-0 and come back to win the series, win 2 in a row. Fortunately, the Yankees did do that once again. Said that already before, but they did that. Going into Game 2, obviously, nerves are extremely high. Carlos Rodon taking the mound. He himself happens to be very unpredictable in the playoffs. Very up, very down. Unfortunately, in our experience the last couple of years, because they didn't make the playoffs in his first year in 23. But last year was very... And this year, coming in, well... at best. And that's what I'd say, especially given his Toronto start. So you never really know what to think when it comes to Rodon in the playoffs. You're unsure. Especially because emotions are running high. Rodon tends to be a highly emotional guy. Seems to have gotten a bit more under control recently, like at the end of last year into this year. But still just uncomfortable. And obviously, it's a short series, knowing that the Yankees lose tonight, they're done. And was it really worth it at that point? Regular season only ended a handful of days ago, and they might already be out. Just a lot of swirling emotions, obviously. Fortunately for the Yankees, this would end up being, at least at the start, majorly a Ben Rice game, because Rice quickly opened up the scoring in the bottom of the first with a 2-run shot. Big way to break through in the playoffs with your first home run, right? So that was awesome. Gave the Yankees an early 2-0 lead. Unfortunately, later on in the top of the third, Rodon would get himself into a lot of trouble, and he would allow the Red Sox to tie the game. A lot of stupidity went on to lead to that, though, unfortunately. Jarren Duran, leadoff single, then he walked Rafaela once again, and again, leading yet again to scoring. Obviously, walking Rafaela is not the answer, but Yankee pitching, how much they love walking people, we know this, especially people who they shouldn't be walking. They said, let's try to get out of another inning where we walk Rafaela. This should go well. Wrong again. Because then Sogard gets a sacrifice bunt, and Rodon throws the ball away. I don't know why, he had some time, but throws it away. Bad throw. And now the bases are loaded with nobody out. Now, in contrast to the Yankees, all other playoff teams, naturally, they come through and they have the bases loaded with nobody out. So that's what ended up happening. He did end up striking out Rob Refsnyder next, but after that, naturally, they came through. Trevor Story, 2-run single, tied the game at 2. Very fortunately for Rodon, he would have Bregman ground into a double play, which is very hard to do because Bregman seldom does that, and he's very fast. Doesn't hit the ball on the ground too often, especially in that big of a situation. You expect him to come through, especially because it's the Yankees who he's versing. Ground into a double play, fortunately. So that's that. Yankees didn't end up driving home any more runs. A lot of this series was just the Yankees blowing more scoring opportunities, especially in this game. McMahon even led off the bottom half of the inning with a hit. And then Trent hit into a force out. Judge got a hit, and then Bellinger flew out. And then Ben Rice hit a ball about 700 miles an hour right to Nate Eaton in right field. Of course it was right at him. Why wouldn't it be? So another blown chance there. Nothing would end up happening for a couple of innings until the bottom of the fifth, where the Yankees did end up breaking through with a Judge RBI single. And Judge did have himself mostly a very good postseason, contrary to what a lot of people were believing heading in, and even myself a little bit, for obvious reasons. Unfortunately, very much in Yankees fashion as well, that run was given right back literally immediately in the top of the sixth, with Trevor Story leading off the inning with a solo shot to make it 3-3. So, fortunately, though, Rodon would get through that inning, and it would be his last. Yankees wouldn't score in the bottom of the sixth, blowing more scoring chances because Ben Rice got a hit, Austin Wells got a hit, and then Volpe ended up striking out. So there was that. Game still tied at 3. Top of the seventh, Rodon did start the seventh, but when I said the sixth was really his last inning, was because in the seventh he didn't get a single out, didn't retire anybody. And in fact, he looked like he just lost every bit of himself. He just completely lost it. He walked Nate Eaton, threw a wild pitch, hit Duran with a pitch. I mean, he just completely lost it in every way. So they had to bring in Fernando Cruz, and he miraculously managed to get out of this inning, runners on first and second, nobody out, after Rodon turned into a train wreck. Miraculously, somehow got out of this inning by getting Rafaela to pop out via a bunt, got Sogard to fly out, and Yoshida actually hit a ball towards the middle, and Jazz Chisholm probably saved the Yankees season. I'll give him credit for this at this point by stopping the ball going up the middle completely, almost like it did in Game 1 to give the Red Sox the lead, like it would have once again here, is what I meant. Yoshida just coming off the bench and friggin' killing them. It's wild. And almost again here, but it didn't get through, so the bases were loaded with 2 outs, and then Trevor Story hit a deep fly ball to center, caught by Trent Grisham, and after that led to, and we all know Cruz is very emotional and very passionate, this led to an unleashing of adrenaline like I had never seen in my life. I cannot believe that Fernando Cruz did not pop a blood vessel here. He went so ballistic, and I just love that kind of passion. I really do. I mean, what's on the line there? Game tied. Yankees are going home if they lose against their arch rival. Oh, my God. Just epic, honestly. So, huge job by Fernando Cruz there, and the passion is just, again, continues to be second to none. It's amazing. Love it when that happens. He's come through in so many big moments, and just when he shows that kind of passion, love it, love it, love it. Bottom of the seventh, despite Trent hitting a double, nobody else did anything. Red Sox didn't score in the top of the eighth either. Devin Williams came in and worked himself a nice inning. A lot of leadoff hit to Bregman, but immediately undid it by getting Nathaniel Lowe to ground into a double play and struck out Narvaez. Bottom of the eighth, fortunately, the Yankees just managed to notch out another run. It really didn't seem like they were doing so because it just seemed like they were very quiet. And again, the offense after the night before and leading up to this, after they'd scored their third run a few innings prior, and the Red Sox immediately answered back. At that point, honestly, going into the eighth inning here, and it was funny they managed to score at this point, in the seventh or eighth inning, especially after the Red Sox immediately answered back, and it just seemed like they were just chasing the Yankees and playing with more like fire and just they weren't giving up and they weren't playing sloppy baseball, at least yet. They did play very sloppy baseball in the next game especially, but so I guess it was contagious. But anyway, in this game, they just, at that point, especially when they immediately retied it, at that point I thought the Yankees were done. I'm going to be honest. I was getting ready to completely eulogize them on social media. I thought they were finished. The bullpen, I have to say, for the rest of this game, as opposed to game one, was nails. They did a great job. Between what Cruz did, what Devin Williams did, and then what David Bednar would eventually come in and do and hold the game and complete the win, they were amazing. But I just, with the way the offense was looking and the Red Sox just constantly just finding ways to come back and just chasing them, I thought they were done. I was very happy to be wrong about that. Bottom of the eighth comes around. Rice strikes out. Stanton grounds out. So at this point, I'm like, oh my God in heaven. But then Jazz starts things with a walk. Sometimes it's all it takes. And then running on the pitch, Wells hits one down the right field line. Jazz was darting around the bases like a coyote was chasing him. This guy was on the freaking move, I tell you. He came all the way around to score on the single down the line. Yankees take a 4-3 lead. And after Bednar works a very clean top of the ninth for the win and for his save, the Yankees managed to tie the series at 1. Big stuff there. Heading into the win-and-go-home game for both teams on Thursday the 2nd, now I'm thinking the Yankees are probably going to win. Because both of them, I mean, they were both taking a bit of a risk having kids pitch a win-or-go-home game. The Red Sox had Connolly Early going, age 23, very young. And the Yankees had their 24-year-old high-potential young stud Cam Schlittler going. So this could have been absolutely wild. And it was in a different way than we all expected, I think. But this could have been a wild game. And the Red Sox had used a lot of their bullpen the night prior, especially Garrett Whitlock, who had thrown a lot of pitches the night prior. So you were like, oh, is he going to be unavailable? And so that's the Red Sox number 2 behind Chapman. So maybe their bullpen will be a little limited. They'll probably won't stick with Early for long, and who knows how deep Schlittler's going to go, and maybe some guys will be unavailable for the Yankees bullpen as well because of the night prior. So this game had a lot of, everyone was unsure about what was possibly going to happen. Anything could happen with this game. This ended up being probably the best postseason outing, especially considering it's a rookie making his first playoff outing, his postseason debut in Cam Schlittler. This was the best postseason outing, and thereby probably the best outing I've ever seen. in my time watching the Yankees. There's a lot of controversy. A lot of people were saying that this was the best playoff outing in Yankee history or even ever. And, there are some other starts like Don Larson's perfect game in the World Series. Granted, that was like 70 years ago in 1956. And a different sport, different world back then entirely. So the circumstances, especially given that was the World Series, yeah, fine, whatever. But also wasn't making his postseason debut in his rookie year. Not discrediting Don Larson at all. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying there was a lot of other surrounding circumstances where you could use that argument for Cam Schlittler, especially considering the fact he went 8 shutout innings, allowing only 5 hits, no walks, and striking out 12. He is the first pitcher in baseball history to do those things. 8 innings, walking nobody, and striking out 12 people in a postseason game. And again, you factor in the fact that he's a rookie. It's an elimination game. Everything on the line. Biggest rivalry in sports, Yankees, Red Sox. All surrounding circumstances. If it's not the best postseason outing ever, it's up there. It's definitely up there. I would definitely say it's the best postseason outing ever by someone making his postseason debut as a rookie. I would definitely say that. But if you want to take it to that next level, there are certain arguments you could use. But there are a lot of other examples out there. I'll definitely say that too. It's a tougher argument to make, for sure. Even in Yankee history, especially when you account for things like, as I said, the Don Larson perfect game in the World Series, which you'll probably never see again, particularly with the Yankees, because that's just such an extraordinary accomplishment. But nonetheless, I cannot emphasize enough what it was like to witness an outing like this by Cam Schlittler. Unbelievable. Needless to say, because of an outing like that, the Yankees won the friggin' game 4-0. And they were able to do so on an RBI single by Rosario, an RBI single by Volpe, and then runs 3 and 4 coming home on an error by Nathaniel Lowe over at first base, on a ground ball in the infield by Austin Wells. And there's my point also, the Red Sox playing sloppy baseball in this game. Very Yankee-like, if I must say so. But aside from all of that sloppy defense by the Red Sox, no offense because they had no answers for Cam Schlittler whatsoever. None. An iconic outing for the ages that I will never forget. And then David Bednar closing out the 9th inning. Red Sox couldn't dream of getting anything going. And even whenever they did, if they had a couple of runners on base, nobody even made it past second base, by the way, for the Red Sox. That's how dominant this was. I mean, just unbelievable by Cam. Unfreaking believable. He has absolutely already earned himself a straight path into every Yankee fan's heart with a start like that in the playoffs, in an elimination game, against the Red Sox, at home, all surrounding circumstances, easily into the hearts of absolutely everybody. Unfreaking real by Cam Schlittler. That was the main story of this game, even aside from the Yankees scoring 4, and they would end up moving on. So I'm glad I gave the Yankees a slight edge ultimately, and I'm glad they won because honestly, again, on paper, as I was saying, and I even said it last week despite my discomfort, they were the better team on paper. They were. The Red Sox, if they make a few more maneuvers and a few more additions to their team, they're on their way to being competitive again and being really good and actually getting further into the playoffs again. I don't want to say competitive. They made it to the playoffs. So they're already competitive, but you get what I mean. Going deeper into the playoffs and being dominant like they were years back. So they're not quite there yet, and the Yankees were the better team. I'm sorry, they were. So in my opinion, it was right that the Yankees won this series. It was looking very bad there until the very last part of Game 2. It was looking real hairy for the Yankees. The offense blew plenty of opportunities. They went completely silent a little too often for my liking. Starting pitching was dominant. I mean, even Rodon, who wasn't necessarily the best, he still went 6+ and only allowed 3 despite losing absolutely everything to start the 7th. Still not a horrible outing. I mean, it really had a crappy ending and was really... I mean, did he even have... I got to look back and see if I remember. I don't even think... Did he have 90 pitches even? When he just completely unraveled like that? Let me see, Rodon. Rodon had 91 pitches. I mean, come on, bro. It's a playoff game. Come on, sack up a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, though, still not a brutal outing. Wasn't the best. Didn't have his best stuff, but wasn't brutal. And then Cam, I mean, speaks for itself. So the starting pitching did its job. And other than Luke Weaver, for the most part, the bullpen did its job. Particularly in Game 2. So I'm glad they managed to win this series. Obviously, if they would have lost to the Red Sox again, it would have been utterly devastating because the Yankees have just been owned by the Red Sox for the most part since 2004. I mean, all the humiliations. 2004, 2018 with the ALDS, and just that 16-run game by the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium in that series. Just utter humiliation. And then in 2021 with the wild card game, and then now this... I mean, they've won every single meaningful series against the Yankees since 2004, pretty much. Over 20 years of dominance. And I was just even starting to think to myself later on in Game 2, and even down on myself in Game 1, too, after that happened. I was saying, like, just my luck. I'm born into the generation of Yankee fandom where for over 80 years there was utter dominance of the Red Sox at our hands. And I have to be a part of the Yankees generation where just for a little bit over 20, I have to watch them have the Yankees number and have our balls in a vice. Just my luck. Fortunately, with this series being won, the Yankees managed to win their first playoff series against the Red Sox since 2003, when, ironically enough, Aaron Boone walked it off in extra innings of the ALCS in Game 7 against Tim Wakefield. It's the first time since then, when I was 6 years old, that the Yankees won a playoff series against the Red Sox. So, in my time watching the Yankees since 2007, this is my first time ever seeing the Yankees beat them in a playoff series. So you best imagine just how freaking thrilled I was to see this. Only to be utterly just dropped on my head against Toronto. This series, guys, I mean, listen, the Yankees had a very, very spirited comeback in Game 3. Nobody's denying this. But other than that, as I argued in the open, the Yankees got their asses handed to them in every way in this series. As much as I want to crap on the Blue Jays, as much as I want to call them tryhards and all this stupid, subjective, all these insults. You could accuse them of being tryhards or Vlad for being an ass and just having the Yankees in his crosshairs a bit too much and just being a douche about it. But hey, you know what? He came through. He shoved it right up their red rectums. I'm just being real blunt about it. And he did his job. He put his money and his bat where his mouth was. And he took them out, as did the Blue Jays overall. Even players you never would expect. Pesky players, yeah. But to the degree that they did things like Ernie Clement. Even freaking Andres Jimenez, who's I'm sorry, he's not a good baseball player. Even he killed the Yankees. How much have they screwed him in the past when he was with Cleveland? They just shut him down. Jimenez is not a good baseball player. He was in this series. He killed the Yankees. Players you would expect, players you wouldn't expect. Everybody. They dominated the Yankees. The Blue Jays fully deserved to move on. That tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth. But I tell the truth here. I'm an objective Yankee fan. The Yankees got crapped on. They got owned. Everything unraveled in this series. Defense at times. The bullpen at times, even though that was actually a strength sometimes. The offense, most of the time, non-existent. The starting rotation, unfortunately, with the exception of Cam Schlittler, because unfortunately for him in that last game, Cam actually had himself a very nice outing once again. So again, credit to the kid for having an unbelievable 2 outings in his first ever postseason. Again, into the hearts of all of us. Never downplaying or forgetting that just because of the rest of the crap the Yankees managed to pull or not pull. But the rest of the starting rotation? Crap. Fried, like I said, we knew he had the tendency to either be really good or really bad in the postseason. Awful in Game 2. Couldn't get out of his own way, and the Blue Jays just seemed to know what the hell he was doing. They were on him. Like a fly at a picnic. Luis Gil getting a start in Game 1. A lot of people were wondering, they were curious why he was left off of the wild card roster against the Red Sox, because he's had a very good history against them. I was a little curious about that myself, but I also trusted in Cam to turn in at least a decent outing because I love Cam Schlittler. Even before the Red Sox outing, how much have I glazed the kid? How much I love his stuff, how much potential I think he has. Just more polishing. He's going to be a freaking potential Cy Young candidate one day. I glazed the crap out of him. So you best believe that Red Sox outing, and even his outing against the Blue Jays, I was thrilled about. And I wasn't completely surprised. I was majorly surprised at how just freaking iconic and legendary his Red Sox outing was, but wasn't too shocked at how great he showcased his stuff. That has unbelievable potential already as it is. But everyone else, my God, Fried, Gil in the first game. He was put back on the roster to start Game 1 since Fried and Rodon and Schlittler had already recently pitched in their outings against the Red Sox. And after the game on Thursday, they had to get right back to action just a couple of days later on Saturday in Toronto. It wasn't good. Gil went 2 2/3 innings. And he only gave up 2 runs, but in that time period, just 2 2/3. He did give up 4 hits, didn't walk anybody, but he didn't have his strikeout stuff. Even the outs were pretty hard hit at times. The Blue Jays were clearly on his stuff, even if they didn't score an unbelievable amount of runs. And the strikeout stuff really wasn't fully there like you typically know Gil to have. Especially because the Blue Jays are also just a team that really just doesn't strike out. They don't swing and miss a lot at all. So when you dismantle a guy from striking out guys who's usually a strikeout guy, it's usually not going to go too well. So then the bullpen had to go for the rest of the way after that, and it was not pretty for the most part. Tim Hill came in and went an inning and a third scoreless, only allowing a hit, so he did a fine job. And Camilo Duvall against all expectations, even threw 2 shutout innings himself after that. So for the first 6 innings of the game, things were very close. The Yankee bats did nothing until the top of the 6th when Cody Bellinger happened to get a bases-loaded walk, which I'll get to the 6th inning in a moment even more so. But the Yankees very well should have tied the game at the very least and then some from there, and who knows what happens after that. Things probably wouldn't have gotten necessarily as out of hand as they did in the end in the last couple of innings. But things were close until that point. Gil didn't go deep, but then Hill and Duvall had their backs. Top of the 6th comes around, and this is where the Yankees really should have had the Blue Jays by the balls here. And I briefly mentioned Cody's bases-loaded walk, but there was a lot that happened before that. Volpe led off the inning with a double. Wells hit a single, bringing Volpe to third. Didn't come home to score. Trent walked. So the bases are loaded with nobody out, and Aaron Judge is coming to the plate. Now, Judge had a pretty good series against the Red Sox, and you're praying at this point. In the beginning of the game, in his first at-bat, he got a hit. He was 1 for 2 coming into this at-bat. But other than when he tied the game in Cleveland in 24 against, and again, not taking anything away from him, against Emmanuel Clase, just an iconic home run. Unfortunately, the Yankees wouldn't go on to win that game, obviously, but still an iconic home run. That was really like the main clutch moment he'd had in the playoffs in the last multiple postseasons. So, I mean, we knew in the clutch he just has a tough time in the playoffs, and unfortunately, this time around that would continue on a pitch in the dirt, and the Yankees really just could not help themselves against the splitter in this series, no matter who was throwing it. Gossman, Savage, it didn't matter who was throwing a splitter, the Yankees couldn't lay off of it. Doesn't matter. They had no answers for anyone's splitter, no matter who was throwing it. If you want to glaze Savage for his release point, going over the top, and how much his splitter even moved, even more so than Gossman's, fine, whatever. I give him credit for that. His splitter was stunning. But no matter whose splitter they were versing in this series, this is just the truth. They did nothing against it. And again here. He had a drawn-out at bat against Gossman, but just inexcusable. He swings at one 3-2 in the dirt and strikes out. How different this game could have been if he came through there. How different. Bellinger, fortunately, walked with the bases loaded after that, but then even to follow, nothing else happened. The Yankee offense, in stunning fashion, just blowing a golden opportunity. Ben Rice pops out. Then Gossman was taken out for Varland, and Varland just blows Stanton out of the water. Giancarlo Stanton, shockingly so. The first October since he was traded to the Yankees. The first October that he really did almost nothing. I'm shocked by that. I really am. Every October he's ever been with the Yankees, he's performed out of his mind. You can't deny that. You could crap on him all you want for being hurt as often as he is during the regular season, missing as much time as he does, but that's one thing you can't crap on him for is his performances in October. This time, that was non-existent, shockingly so. And this was another example of that. The Yankees didn't score another run for the rest of the game, and then Luke Weaver comes in again for the bottom of the sixth. And again, he gets body slammed out of the game. Once again, like his Game 1 outing, does not record a single out. This man faced, like 7 hitters? Something like that? He retired none in the postseason. To call this an inexcusable postseason for Luke Weaver in 2 outings, to allow multiple runs in close games, very close games that are within a run in both cases, and not record even a single out? I'm sorry. That's... You can't excuse that away. You can't. And Cruz came in after that, had a tough time himself a little bit, and then Blackburn just, at that point, the game was freaking over. It was over. So Blackburn just completely folded, allowed 4 runs of his own. Utter embarrassment, ultimately, in a game that, for more than half of it, was actually really close, if you could believe it, from the final score. But the final score was 10-1. Awful. Game 2, Max Fried. This was just a disaster. It was a disaster. Just exactly what you'd expect, from his playoff history, being as great as he was against the Red Sox in the first game and unfortunately not getting a win for it because Luke Weaver was just beyond incompetent. But this game swung the other way for him. In 3 innings, he gave up 8 hits, 7 runs, 2 walks, and struck out 1. They had his number like I have ever seen an offense have an ace-like pitcher stuff. It's just awful. And then since he went so short into the game, just 3 innings, they brought one of their long relievers in, who they had on the roster, being Will Warren, and Will Warren just got absolutely body slammed as well, especially at the beginning. He ended up giving in good length, going 4 2/3. But whether it be the moment that everyone's going to clip for the rest of time with Vlad hitting a friggin' grand slam off him to the moon to put this game officially completely out of reach, or just struggling to put guys away more, giving up 7 hits of his own. I mean, Warren again, that's really all there is to it. The game was completely out of reach. And then Weaver, actually, at the very end, even though it's completely useless, I have to say congratulations to him for recording 1 out in the postseason. Finally, at this point, before, like I was saying, hadn't recorded a single out to that point in the playoffs. Finally got one at the end of this game when it was 13-7. 13 runs had already been given up between Fried and Warren, so that's just wonderful. And the Yankees just thought it fun to score 7 runs for some reason. I don't know. What is it, a tease? I mean, who knows? They were down 12-0 at one point. Bellinger decided to hit a 2-run shot, and Judge an RBI single, Bellinger RBI single, Rice RBI double, and then Stanton 2-run single. And the final score was 13-7. Why they bothered, I don't really know. So, down 2-0, coming home for 5 days ago, Tuesday the 7th. And this game had Rodon getting the outing against Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber obviously back recently from his Tommy John and really not fully established yet and doesn't really have his best stuff. So I was trusting in Rodon to get it done and for the Yankee offense to handle Bieber, even though, they thought it fun to score 7 runs when down by double-digit runs and the Blue Jays were putting up routine football scores against them in the first 2 games. Really just wanted to at least slightly try to trust the Yankee offense to do something against a recently returned Bieber. And they did, but unfortunately alongside that, Rodon was a train wreck. He was terrible. So again, this is what I mean. So far in the playoffs in his 2 years, more often than not, he's turned in an okay outing or a really bad outing where he just doesn't last long at all. I mean, it's weird. Unfortunately, the latter here. 2 1/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. Gave up a home run, too, so didn't keep the ball in the park totally either, which he also struggles with quite a bit, as we know. So, it was off to an ugly start. It was. I mean, Vlad Guerrero, once again, for some reason, they didn't walk him, and he hit a 2-run shot off of Rodon in the top of the first. I don't know, for some reason, they just weren't walking him for reasons I can't explain, and nobody could explain. So, down right away in the top of the first, 2-0, when you're already down 2-0 in the series, in your own stadium. At least they got back on the board after that quick answer. Giancarlo RBI single made it 2-1, but top of the third, the Blue Jays answered right back and just took a big old steaming hot crap on Rodon. Put up 4 more runs in the top of the third to make it 6-1. At this point, again, glad they proved me wrong in this case. I was eulogizing the Yankees. I mean, who wouldn't be? At this point, you're down by 5 runs. The dominance you just witnessed at the hand of the Blue Jays in the first 2 games in Toronto. Offense mostly dead. Pitching folding. Heel not looking his best in game 1. Fried, awful. Rodon, awful. So even the starting rotation, which was so reliable literally right up to this very point in this series the whole year, fell apart ultimately. The bullpen had its blemishes, and the offense, for the most part, was disappearing. So you're already down 2-0 in the series. Yankees have gotten embarrassed a number of times the last few years at Yankee Stadium to ultimately be eliminated in the playoffs while doing so. So what's the difference now, you're thinking? So I was basically just saying, yeah, the Yankees are absolutely done. And I'm pretty sure about 99% of the fan base was also saying the same. So I can only be so hard on myself for not predicting this to be correct at the time. But listen, again, in this case, couldn't be happier to be proven wrong. Judge continued to tear it up, and might be weird hearing me say that in the light of what I just said in game 1 with what he did with the bases loaded, but we'll get to this in a bit. Aaron Judge actually had a fantastic postseason. Other than that, literally just 1 at bat, I guess. That's about it. He was nearly single-handedly, the person responsible for this Yankees comeback. Trent would start the 3rd inning, getting on base for him. He would drive Trent home with an RBI double. Did Judge to make it 6-2. Stanton hit a sac fly to make it 6-3. So now they inched a little closer. And then in the bottom of the fourth, this was the big inning. Bottom of the fourth starts off. Volpe strikes out. Not a surprise. We'll get to him later. Wells, Yankees called a break, managed to reach on an error. Trent walked. And then Judge hit a huge 3-run homer, first homer of the postseason, off the foul pole, mind you. Didn't know if it was going to say fair or foul. Watched it as it soared through the New York sky. Wasn't sure if it was going to go. Watched it all the way. Hit off the pole. Yankee Stadium ascends into chaos. And Judge flips the bat, looks and points to the dugout. Stadium going absolutely ballistic. And he just dramatically, in about as dramatic fashion as you could possibly imagine, ties the game at 6. The Yankees complete the 5-run comeback against all odds and predictions that just about anybody might have had. So he came through. He had his clutch moment. He had another clutch postseason moment on top of that home run in Cleveland. So he did it again in 2025. Big clutch moment. He did it. So it would stay that way for a couple of innings. It would stay 6-6. You got a brand new ball game now. And while the bullpen is doing its thing to keep the Blue Jays at 6, and I have to say they deserve credit again in this game because they kept the Blue Jays scoreless the rest of the way out. Nobody in the bullpen allowed a run, and they had a lot of outs to get. Rodon only got 7 outs in this game. The bullpen had 20 outs to record. Fernando Cruz, scoreless inning and a third. Duvall, scoreless inning. Tim Hill, scoreless inning and a third. Devin Williams, scoreless inning and a third. Bednar, scoreless inning and 2/3 for his second save of the postseason. So the rest of the way out, while the Yankees tried to do their work, bullpen locked down. They had their couple of games where they did that in this postseason, and despite how they gave us Achita many times throughout this same postseason also, and throughout most of the regular season, got to give them credit where credit is due for this game especially. This is where I would say they went the hardest. Fantastic job by them. So the Yankees trying to do the best they can to add on more after Judge dramatically tied the game. Jazz Chisholm puts him ahead. Solo shot in the bottom of the 5th. And then Wells later on got an RBI single of his own, driving Rosario home. And he was thrown in at second on the throw, but he still, and that was the last out of the inning, but he still drove home that extra run, 8-6. The Yankees would add on one more on a Rice sacrifice fly, 9-6, as the kid was doing all he can to sort of resurge himself into this series after he had such a tough time at many times in this Blue Jays series, honestly. Rice, like many others in the lineup, just had a very difficult time with the bat. After he had himself a very nice time against the Red Sox, no less. But he did add on here 9-6, and that was the final score. So the Yankees stayed alive. And to be honest with you, no one was more surprised than me that they actually managed to blow this series in the 4th game, look as flat as they did after a game like that. That's really what surprised me more so than anything. The Yankees only scored 2 runs the next day on Wednesday in another win-or-go-home game. The first run was in also dramatic fashion at the bottom of the 3rd to tie the game after the Blue Jays jumped out in front on a Vlad Guerrero RBI single once again in the top of the 1st. Then in the bottom of the 3rd, Ryan McMahon, I mean, who else would you expect, right? He tied the game at 1 on a solo shot into the right field seats, dramatically in the bottom of the 3rd. And it was mostly quiet on both sides, and the Yankee offense was dead silent. Nothing ultimately ended up happening other than the Yankees scoring another useless run in the bottom of the 9th. I mean, I am glad they did so and that it was Judge, so he wasn't the last batter of 2025. Kept the Yankees a little bit alive with an RBI single in the bottom of the 9th to make it 5-2 at the time. But other than that, guys, And Schlittler turning in another nice outing. He did allow 8 hits, but listen, the Blue Jays are a tough team. Even a high strikeout guy like Schlittler only struck out 2. The Blue Jays don't strike out. They don't. They don't strike out. He turned in another beautiful outing, especially considering how difficult the Blue Jays lineup is and the fact that they don't swing and miss. 6 1/3, 8 hits. Blue Jays put bat to ball. That's going to happen. 4 runs, but only 2 earned. Again, partially because of what I mentioned before with Jazz. I don't consider that to be Cam's fault, and I don't take it out on Devin Williams either. After that, it was all on Jazz as far as I'm concerned. He still didn't walk anybody, so Cam and all the innings pitched that he has in the postseason so far in his young postseason career, 14 1/3 compiled. He hasn't walked a single person. It's pretty friggin' cool. Unfortunately, though, because of the dead offense, Schlittler would take the loss, a very undeserved one on the night. But other than Schlittler turning in another very fine outing and his team just completely abandoning him, the Yankees were flat. And after the remarkable comeback and how they lit themselves on fire pretty much in a good way, just the very night before that, I truly could not believe how flat they came out. I mean, it was pathetic. Pathetic. By the time the 7th or 8th inning came around, they had 3 hits on the night. And need I remind you that that was also against a Blue Jays team who was bullpenning the game. They didn't even have a starting pitcher going. Gossman, despite how many times the Yankees have seen him and even done well against him many times in the past, went in Game 1. Game 2, you had Savage go crazy on them. Bieber didn't really do anything fantastic in Game 3. Fine, really expected that, so that's good. Didn't go deep at all. But the 4th game, they had nobody. They bullpenned it. And they even started the first inning, get this, with the guy who gave up the game-tying 3-run homer to Judge the night before in Varland. And they didn't even do anything against him in the first inning. No, they got a hit off him. Big friggin' whoop. They only had 3 of those till the end of the game. Pathetic. Inexcusable effort. I mean, listen, I went on saying how unsurprised I was and numb, and yeah, still am, given the end result. Still am. But despite any numbness towards anything, you still have to admit, I think many people, I even spoke to a bunch of Blue Jays fans that follow me and I follow them, really good Blue Jays fans on Twitter. I even spoke with them. They even said that they were surprised at how pathetic the Yankees came out looking for Game 4. I think even a lot of Blue Jays fans expected the Yankees to probably force a Game 5 because Game 3, given the nature of that amazing comeback, 5-run comeback in the postseason is not easy to pull off, guys. You got some of the best pitching talent in the world in the playoffs. That's no small feat. Even in the regular season, that's a lot of fun to witness. The playoffs, forget it. Especially when you had your backs up against the wall getting owned the way the Yankees were. That's a big momentum shifter in every way. Again, even Blue Jays fans felt that in a way. About 90% I was confident in the Yankees at least forcing a Game 5. I don't know if they would have won in Game 5. I probably would have had them losing still, to be honest with you. I would have felt much better if they managed to split in Toronto and win that first game that they should have, given that bases loaded opportunity they freaking blew. But after that, I mean, I still had them losing the rest of the way through. During Game 3, I was proven wrong. And then by midway through Game 4 here, with how flat they were looking, I had them losing too. Even though until the end, by the 5th inning, they were just down 2-1. You wouldn't know that, though. Felt like 10-1. You know how it feels at all times when the Yankees offense goes dead, how it feels in all those games. It's the exact way here, even more so, considering it's the playoffs. And the Blue Jays bullpen just taking it to them. While the pitching's doing all they can to hold it close. I mean, in every game, double-digit runs and hits other than Game 3. Games 1 and 2, double-digit runs and hits for the Blue Jays offense. 6 runs still in the third game with 9 hits. And then in this game, 12 hits again, ultimately, but somewhat kept under control. You finally felt like, oh my God, this is close. The offense just has to come alive. They're facing the Blue Jays bullpen, which isn't the best. They should be able to do it. Nothing. Things got more out of hand against the Blue Jays offense in the 7th and 8th innings, and that's just really when it felt like it was over. But you really never felt like you were in a place, if you were the Yankees, throughout most of the game facing the Blue Jays offense where it was so close. And if your own offense just does something, you could easily steal this game away, and rightfully so after yesterday's momentum shifter. You're facing the bullpen. No. Just going to die. Garbage. McMahon homer, and then when you were clearly going to lose, a Judge RBI single. All you had for the whole friggin' game. You come out there after what happened in Game 3 in front of your home crowd. I'm sorry. It's just, like I said, it's the same thing. You were humiliated on your home turf in 24. You were humiliated on your home turf in 22 when the Astros swept your asses out of the ALCS. It's happened all too often the last few years. This is the third time in 4 years that you were embarrassed on your home turf, ultimately eliminated in the playoffs. And again, not even just losing like in spirited fashion, just, they got the better of us. Embarrassed. Especially considering the final nails in the coffin after Schlittler's very nice outing. Did the best he could out there against a really tough Blue Jays offense that does nothing but put bat to ball. And Devin Williams, who did the best he could to get out of that inning as well. Ending in the same way with errors as 24 did. So Jazz, again, just screwing it up at second base. And he even made a couple of suspect throws earlier in the postseason too before this, where Volpe had to scoop things out of the dirt for him and save him from disaster too at that point. So I don't know what the hell Jazz was doing for the most part defensively in the postseason, but my God. We know he's done stupid crap there as well in the regular season at times, but I mean, bro, lock in. Hell's the matter with you? And again, him with the bat, like last postseason. Again, nothing. He gave him the lead in Game 3. Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. But that's one thing. 1 in 7 games. Turning his back to the media after Game 1's loss against the Red Sox. And I don't blame him there necessarily. Left out of the lineup, you could have an argument, you play your best players in the playoffs. Matchups this, matchups that. I get it. I agree with that. You play your best players. I understand the frustration with that. But even some people, even agreeing with him, felt a certain type of way about him doing that with the media with his usual personality. We know Jazz has a very edgy, controversial personality. And he has a big mouth, too. But then it makes it all the more irritating, especially after witnessing 2024's postseason when he was mouthing off against the Royals and just mouthing off against everybody and doing nothing along that whole path. And then turning his back here. And, still, and not necessarily mouthing off to the degree that he did in 24, especially against the Royals. But, he has a swagger. He has his way of going about things. And he does nothing again here in October when it matters. Again, take nothing away from the guy, and it makes it awfully tough to part ways with him. I'm still not sure they'll keep him long term. I don't know, beyond 2026, but I know that the numbers he put up this year and over 30-30 and the production he still gives you for a second baseman makes it awfully tough to turn away from him. But again, the stupid crap and the big mouth and it makes it very, very difficult to fully like Jazz. I have plenty of times where I'm all for Jazz, absolutely. And he does plenty of good. He does. I'm not making believe like he doesn't all of a sudden just completely switching up on him. But Acknowledge both sides of him. He has two sides. The really good side where, again, you're not really getting that kind of production from second base from much of anybody else throughout the league. Not too many other people, if anyone. Ketel Marte, maybe. That's about it. But then there's this other side to him that we all know all too well. Sloppy defense. Bad attitude. And nothing to back it up. And doing nothing in October. I don't know, man. And he was a big part of that. He really was what took the game, in my opinion. He took the game out of the Yankees' hands with that crucial error in the end. All eyes on him, and deservedly so. So another error, big error, playing a big part in the final nail in the Yankees' coffin. They would go on to lose the game 5-2 again, lost at home once again, humiliated, eliminated, didn't even make it to the CS this time. Insane. Again, Blue Jays deserve it. They outclassed the Yankees. They just did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it hurts you, very subjective and overly optimistic, toxically positive, never can do no wrong Yankee fans out there who just live and die by the team and never acknowledge any faults and just have your heads in the clouds and are just utter shills. I'm sorry if it upsets you to hear that. If it upsets you to hear the truth. But the Yankees were outclassed, simply. Except for a very nice comeback, which again, I'm not stripping them of credit for. It was an unbelievable comeback. Would have been made even sweeter if you forced a damn Game 5 like everybody expected after something like that. But you take that away, man. I mean, it's feels like a miracle enough in of itself that it happened. They were never even in the game. And honestly, for about 98% of the series, except for that one inning where they came back, the Yankees never even felt like they even belonged in the series. It's really amazing. I mean, they barely skidded past the Red Sox. I thought that they would put up a little bit more of a competition against the Blue Jays, and there were key times throughout the series where the Yankees definitely could have taken advantage, and they didn't. But so much of the time, especially like in Game 2, of course, oh my God, they were just never even in it. Never. They could have blown things open in that big bases loaded nobody out jam in Game 1, other than just scoring one run on a bases loaded walk. Game 3, I mean, they managed to take that one. Game 4 was very close. You easily could have taken that one, too. But no. Nope. The only one where they were truly out of it before they even had a chance to even know what hit them was Game 2. They could have really made a stamp, and they could have done better than they did, and there were key moments for them to do so, but they didn't. The offense, other than deciding to score runs finally when they were down 12-0 for no reason. And then when they had the miraculous comeback in Game 3, they were nowhere to be found. The bullpen had its good and bad moments. Mostly bad mostly because of Luke Weaver. But still, I mean, he was a big component of the bullpen and big person you would hope that you could rely on like you would in the past, but ultimately couldn't. And the starting rotation, although they did what it took in the Red Sox series, they ultimately, in the Blue Jays series, when it came down to the very end, they fell apart. Fell apart. And thus, with witnessing another humiliation on your home turf, the annual simulation is ongoing. So, that's really the deal with exactly what happened. And up and down the lineup, we can talk about who was good, who was bad, and honestly, this will be really quick because about 90% of the guys were just awful. As much as I still love Trent and I don't switch up on him, and I still wouldn't hate to see him back next year, even if it's back to being a fourth outfielder capacity sort of thing, but I still very much appreciate the career year that he had. I don't just forget about that lightly. But it's also valid to say that in the postseason, it's just telling the truth, Trent Grisham was awful. Did absolutely nothing. Just a disgraceful postseason display. And it's sad because I love the guy. Awful. Cody Bellinger. Awful. You take that useless home run away when they were down 12-0, he literally did nothing. He even had that sliding play out in left field that he should have made. And I forget what even freaking game it was because the Blue Jays series is that freaking forgettable. But messed up that play in the outfield even. Otherwise, he was fine in defensively, I guess, but nothing with the bat. Awful. Like I said, Stanton, too. Bafflingly so. First October I've seen him in a Yankee uniform. Terrible. Jazz, he had the home run to put them in the lead in Game 3. Credit to him for that. Otherwise, nothing. Did awful. And was very questionable defensively, even on some plays that Volpe had to save him with. When he tried to flip it to second, maybe for a relay for a double play. And he obviously had the nail in the coffin error in Game 4. Awful by Jazz. Terrible. Goldschmidt was actually pretty good whenever he got his looks. He didn't get many looks, but listen, when he got looks, he put bat to ball. He did. So I actually wasn't too dissatisfied with Goldschmidt. So that's fine. Ben Rice, very good against the Red Sox. Next to nothing against the Blue Jays. Really struggled. Don't really hold it against him too much because, I mean, listen, terrific season. I wish he did more against the Blue Jays. You want to talk about somebody who struggled against the splitter in the Blue Jays series. My God, was Rice one of them. Awful. Still legendary season. Well, I wouldn't say legendary. It was very, very good season. Absolutely. Legendary is a bit strong. Very good season. Terrific job against the Red Sox, especially time-wise. Just timely hits and timely clutch moments. But I look forward to seeing what he does next year. Definitely should be back, and I hope he is for the long term, as long as he puts up numbers like he did this year. Austin Wells, he's a weird case. Because the defense most of the time was there, and he had a couple of hits that were timely. Definitely did. I mean, had the big hit in Game 2 against the Red Sox, and he added on the big run against the Blue Jays. So he has a couple of timely moments, but other than that, Wells is still just kind of like an irritating player who just doesn't come through nearly as much as you'd like him to, and just doesn't... He just has a very frustrating approach. Like, again, who in their right mind... Take Game 4, for instance. This is really what my main argument most of the time is with Austin Wells, his approach more often than not. Game 4. You have Hoffman on the hill, who the Yankees do next to nothing against, amazingly so, because Hoffman, even has Blue Jays fans crapping their pants on a regular basis. He's so bad out of the bullpen. Just gets himself into so much trouble. But, again, Wells, just bafflingly awful approaches. Bottom of the 8th when the Yankees really could have come through. They had the bases loaded, and he's up with 2 outs. Ben Rice had just walked to load the bases. Really suspense moment. Hoffman on the hill, giving Blue Jays fans another heart attack like he always does. Hoffman's having a tough time throwing strikes, especially after having just walked Ben Rice. And what does Wells do when he walks up to the plate? He swings at the first pitch and flies out. Why are you swinging at the first pitch? Especially in that situation. What is the actual matter with you? Got some people out there saying, oh, I love the aggression. Go scratch. Come on. This is basic baseball IQ. Guy is struggling to throw strikes. He struggles out of the bullpen the vast majority of the time. He got the bases loaded in the most, and really probably the last suspenseful moment in this game. And you think it's smart that he swung first pitch? Come on, man. I don't even care if it was a strike. Take the first pitch. Let him earn it. And Wells isn't that good enough of a hitter to justify swinging at the first pitch there, or if he liked the pitch so much. I mean, come on, dude. So the approach, again, it's just like, come on. Get some basic baseball IQ in you, bro. And Volpe, I mean... If anyone's ever played Super Mario before, this is what I related to, especially being a big Mario fan myself for the vast majority of my life. You know when Mario powers up with the star, right? He's invincible. He can run through anything and anyone and kill them or it. Absolutely invincible. That's what I envisioned the cortisone shot being for Volpe in that final stretch of the season the last couple of weeks. And we were all asking, what was in that cortisone shot? And even a little bit into the playoffs. Because he ran into that ball against Crochet, which, especially given his performance, for the most part, after that, I'd consider that to be an accident. And, I mean, especially in the Blue Jays series. Especially in the Blue Jays series. Less so in the Red Sox series, but a little bit there, too. A little bit. For the most part, he was solid in the Red Sox series. Can't be too hard on him for that at all, because mostly good there. But the Blue Jays series, oh my God in heaven. Awful. So in the star power in Super Mario, anyway, back to my point with that, the relation between that and Volpe, relating it to the cortisone shot, it even lasted into the Red Sox series, a decent amount. But then, like in Super Mario, the star power runs out after a brief time. And then you just go back to being regular Mario, and you have to dodge things and dodge enemies, otherwise you'll die and you lose the level. I guess the cortisone shot had an expiration time like star power does, because to say Volpe came back down to earth, I don't even know if that even remotely justifies how much of an understatement that is. I mean, where do you even begin? I mean, my God. I mean, listen to this. This is all you have to hear. In the Blue Jays series, and he went 1 for 4 in the first game with the home run against Crochet, and he went 1 for 4 in the second game against the Red Sox, and in the first game against Toronto, he had his one and only hit of the entire ALDS, so that's where he really died. He still only went 3 for 23 in the whole postseason. Got some key walks, and the defense was there again, which, again, if nothing else, you fight for the defense. That's what really made 2025 as inexcusable as it was, because he regressed the way he did defensively mostly, but that at least came back in the playoffs. And even in the Blue Jays series. But, again, the offense, I mean, it was just so bad that, again, it's inexcusable. He ran out again. Obviously, it was just another little spurt like he always does. Just get a little excited for it because it was happening at the time where they could most use it going into the playoffs. But again, just same Volpe. Very brief little spurt there. Got the cortisone shot. They might still use the shoulder issues as an excuse for giving him more of a leash next year, which I don't agree with, but that's besides the point. Point is here, listen to this. In the Blue Jays series, he had 15 at-bats. He struck out 11 times. 11 times. In 15 at-bats.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Can you even comprehend that kind of awful hitting? So he disappeared. Dis-a-freaking-peared. Went back to exactly what we saw for 98% of 2025. So, again, just fantastic by Volpe. They're absolutely fantastic. Just wonderful. Great way to end, very fittingly end what was just a disastrous 2025 for him on the whole. Thanks for the Crochet home run, but other than that, whatever, honestly. Don't really... who could be bothered to care? Dominguez only had his one at-bat at the end of the series in the bottom of the ninth. He was the one who came home to score on Judge's RBI single there after hitting a double. So he was 1 for 1. Got smothered in the playoffs. Didn't really play at all other than that. McMahon actually had himself a decent postseason. Played great defense. Had the unbelievable play where he flipped into the dugout and made a nice diving play, stumbling over in foul territory at one point as well. So the defense was there as you would expect. Made some great throws. And he had some big hits as well, including that game-tying home run in this last game here. So McMahon actually was pretty decent. It was funny. Decent in the postseason. And Rosario did his job a few times as well when called in against lefty pitchers. But for the most part, guys, Caballero didn't really get too much playing time. For the most part, guys, and this is the last one, I saved this for last, it was Judge in the lineup more often than not, and that was pretty much it. Judge and McMahon for the most part. That's it. Everybody else was, and Rosario a bit too, but he didn't really play all the time, not nearly as much as others. So, given that, everybody for the most part was just an utter disgrace. The offense, they failed. Like they do every October. No matter how good the Yankee offense manages to do, more often than not in October, and ultimately in the very end, they will always fail. They will always fail. Whether it's a philosophy change or whatever, I don't know at this point. I don't think many people really know at this point. You could look at Cashman, hitting coach staff, which has turned over about 25 times at this point. Overall philosophy, the analytics staff, Fisher over there. Like, I don't know. Is it the way they implement the analytics? Not so much the analytics themselves, because highly analytical teams have been very successful the last few years. It's not analytics themselves, it's how you implement them. And how you tend to not have any flexibility, like we always crucify, rightfully so, the Yankees for having their plan and not adjusting on the fly almost ever. Or if you want to attack Boone for certain decisions he makes, rightfully so, well, I'm on board for that. Although if he's fired, which I don't expect to happen for 26, he's still under contract. He will be back. I'll be shocked if he isn't, because they don't have the balls to do that, to fire him. But I'm also a part of the crew who, as much as I am anti-Boone, will also acknowledge that firing him and him alone will do next to nothing. It'll be nice to see a change after so many years of his baffling decision-making, but you can point the finger at whoever you want, guys. It's the same thing every year. Truth is, ultimately, certain guys may have had a couple of moments, a moment or two, yeah, but on the whole, other than that bases-loaded strikeout, Aaron Judge actually had a fantastic October, so hopefully this quiets people a little bit, despite that bases-loaded choke job, I know. But on the whole, I mean, that comeback pretty much, I would say that undoes the bases-loaded thing. That pretty much, he evened it out. It's a wash. So, and outside of that, he did really well. Played great defense. He hit 500, so half the time he was at the plate. If he wasn't being walked, he was getting a hit. OPS of 1273. Hit his big game-tying home run. Drove in 7 games. So on average, an RBI a day. I mean, listen, Judge did his job. Pitching-wise, when it comes to both times they pitched, Schlittler did his job. The bullpen at times, mainly Bednar and Devin, they did their job. The rest of the team abandoned those guys. Judge and McMahon were abandoned by the rest of the lineup. Devin Williams, David Bednar, and Fernando Cruz, I would say, and Tim Hill. Certain guys did pretty well, but for the most part, most guys just abandoned the team. They forgot how to play baseball. Like they seem to always do ultimately in October, frustratingly so, no matter who it is on the team. Again, this is how we have grown accustomed to seeing the Yankees end things ultimately. That's just how it is. So, given all of this, how they went out again in embarrassing fashion, the time loop, the simulation, happens every year. What do we do like we always do? We look ahead to the offseason. Just a couple of things before wrapping up here. Relievers. That's the first thing I could always think of, because for the first season in my lifetime watching this team, the Yankee bullpen was just an utter travesty for the most part and desperately needs help. I start with, personally, letting Luke Weaver take a walk. That's first things first. David Bednar, he's going to be back for 2026 before hitting free agency after that, I believe, so definitely a piece you want to hold on to. Devin Williams is definitely a controversial piece. Spent much of the year, particularly the beginning, being absolutely horrid, as we know, and one could definitely argue, as even I did a couple of weeks ago for the last episode, that he single-handedly threw this team off course from having an even far better record than they already had and finishing in first, perhaps, because he really did blow that many games, especially early on. But last month and a half or so, on the flip side of that coin, continuing well right into October, he truly figured it out big time when it mattered most. So that's a discussion you could have, and we'll talk about that throughout the winter. Wouldn't be completely opposed to giving him a shot at least for like the first half of next year at least, especially if you could get him at a fairly inexpensive cost, more inexpensive than you would have thought before the season started when thinking about the future with him, knowing that this was his last season before hitting free agency. You expect him to have an overall killer season and hit the market expecting a lot of money, but since overall, mostly thanks to his earlier struggles, it was probably the worst season of his career as a big-time closer/reliever. Maybe get him at a little bit more of an inexpensive cost. So there's that to consider too, but you could think about that. Fernando Cruz, I think, will be back, which I'm fine with. I mean, he'll get wild at times with this stuff, but he can be a devastating weapon when he's on, especially with that splitter, my God. And like I always mention, his passion, his fire, like with the story flyout in the wildcard series, again, unmatched fire there. Love the guy. Hang on to him for now. You hang on to Timmy Hill for lefties as well, if you ask me. Still a Tim Hill supporter. I mean, other than that, again, let Luke Weaver walk. It was a fun story, like I said. It was a fun story while it lasted, but it is absolutely deep fried with him at this point. Cooked is a generational understatement. I'll never forget the memories he brought and how good of a guy he is. 2024 was just on another level with him, but now, professionally, I'm sorry, Weave. You got to go. Let him go. Duvall, he's under arbitration for 2026 as well, I think. So the Yankees may allow him to have a, hopefully, short leash here for 2026. Give it a shot to see how he does with maybe starting a season fresh from the top, since he was kind of just abruptly traded unexpectedly at the deadline. But I'd definitely keep him on a very short leash if you don't just dump him off somewhere, because he was a disgrace for about 98% of the second half here. My God. I mean, he's got electric stuff just so long as he knows where it's going. I mean, you saw him be great in San Francisco for so long. That's why we were so excited when they acquired him. But almost in no outing the entire second half did he even know where the baseball was going, which is just insane. But otherwise, just get help out there, man. I mean, Loaizaga, he just popped into my head too. He's got to be done here too, unfortunately. I mean, I still think the guy has some of the most electric stuff any reliever has to offer. But the injuries are just unending, and 2025 may have indicated that they've just reached a point of being too much for him to be efficient anymore. So you cut that loose. Just find arms. We can delve deeper into options in the coming weeks during the offseason, obviously. Starting pitching, I mean, you're getting Cole back at some point in the early portion of the first half, sometime in May perhaps, so you'll slide him back in there, and gladly so. Thrilled to get him back when you do. Gladly slide him back in there with the likes of Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, and Heel probably. I mean, it sounds pretty friggin' good to me. I wouldn't expect Clark back next year, as I've said, so there's that. But I don't really think you have much work to do with the rotation because of that, so I don't really care about starting pitching this winter, to be honest, unless a devastating injury is just announced out of nowhere after the fact here, which, knock on wood, but nothing yet, and they've been out for a few days, so. But they usually sometimes they announce crap out of nowhere in like December, January, like, oh, this popped up and now they're going to need surgery. And then you're sitting there wondering why they didn't get it a month prior or 2 months prior. So that'll be fun if that happens. That's happened plenty of times. But other than that, all things considered right now, I don't really care for paying attention to starting pitching. They should be good. For bats, I mean, I don't know. I probably just work with Ben Rice. I work my ass off with him at the catching position and just make him the catcher. If I'm the Yankees, to be honest, just have him be there. I mean, have Wells be his backup or just jettison him. I don't really care, to be honest. Just work with Rice on how to become a better defensive catcher and just have him just kill it offensively. That's what I'd do, but Wells is probably going to be back. First base, I'm letting Goldschmidt walk. I very much appreciate the good times that he did bring to this team. The first 2.5 months or so were electric for him. Amazing. And then he finished off pretty good there whenever he got his opportunities sporadically, yeah, but finished off pretty good. And but I would just, he's going to be 39 when you get into next season, decently into the season, and I fondly remember his time. Very good things defensively, too, and whenever he got chances in the postseason, very often he came through here. So I have fond memories of Goldschmidt, and given how he's going to be remembered once he does retire as a first baseman, I mean, he had a fantastic career, so I'm always going to fondly remember the 1 year he got to be a Yankee. It's always going to be cool to me, but I would just let it go at this point. It's fine. Jazz, I mean, he's going to be back for 2026, and I guess I'm fine with that, but he just, again, the points of irritation that he brings to me, I just hope they lessen next year, because he does have plenty of points of positivity, but my God, is he an irritating baseball player sometimes, too. You just can't deny that about him, no matter how much you like him. Volpe, I mean, I'm done with the guy. I know the Yankees are going to use the shoulder thing as an excuse as to why he should be given another chance for next year, and fine. If you want to give it to him, fine, whatever. I'm done bitching about it. I've said all I've had to ever say about Volpe at this point, and I'm done. I'm done. You want to give him another shot? Fine, it's your funeral, whatever. And if he happens to come through next year, then God bless you. Fine, that's great. And good for you for not listening to me. After all, what do I know, right? Just another dumb fan. So I would be done with him personally, and at least for the start of the season, if you don't already find another option in the winter, I would just have Caballero get most of the looks at shortstop for now. Like, screw it. I mean, just let it happen. He's going to give you great defense, and he won't give you a lot offensively, but he'll be a pesky ball player for the opponent and steal a crap ton of bases, have great speed. He won't give you anything that Volpe wasn't. Volpe was terrible defensively this year. You'll get good defense out of Caballero. A lot of Volpe supporters want to say, oh my God, well, offense isn't a desired thing out of the shortstop position anyway. You go for the defense, and if he has speed, then it's that much better. Well, you're getting that in Caballero, so what's your problem? What's your problem? Volpe's gotten 3 years. So Caballero's my shortstop if you're not going to get somebody over the winter, at least to start the year if you want to maybe make a move at the deadline next year. At least to start the year if you're not going to get somebody over the winter. Make Caballero the shortstop for now. Screw it. McMahon's going to be at third, probably for the most part, unless you want to do any platooning, I guess. And for first base, actually, I just realized I didn't give an alternative for letting Goldschmidt walk. I mean, if you want to keep Wells as a backup or whatever, if you even mainly want to just maybe evenly split time with Rice and just have him platoon partially at first base whenever he's not catching, however you want to work that around. But if you're not going to do that, if you're just going to keep Wells strictly as a backup and only play him every once in a while and just have Rice be the main guy, people are going to think I'm crazy for this. I said this a while back, and especially because he had an injury-ridden 2025, unfortunately, overseas. For first base, and if you ever got to give McMahon a day off over at third or whatever, and then you have Rice maybe play first base, I'm getting Murakami and putting him at first base. Now, do I think he's probably going to go to L.A.? Yeah, he probably will, because what Japanese player doesn't lately? Except for maybe Kodai Senga. I mean, that's about it. Everyone goes to friggin' L.A. Everyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does that too, to play third. I mean, they already have Muncy there mainly, and they have their infield options. They have Freeman at first, so do they really have a dire need for Murakami? It's definitely not. The Yankees could definitely use him much more so. I'm all in on Murakami. I want the Yankees to get him. I'm sorry. That's what I want. So I would have my infield next year, at least to start, be Murakami at first. And if McMahon needs a day off or you want to platoon him at third with somebody else for matchups, you put somebody else there, then maybe you just have Murakami playing at third and then Rice play first and have Wells catch. I mean, whatever. You situate it around as much as you can. I'm getting Murakami and having him be my regular first baseman. Jazz at second, I guess. Caballero at short, and then McMahon at third. Obviously, you move things around depending on the day. If somebody gets hurt, that all happens. I get it. But that's my mostly everyday situation. Then you have Judge and right. You have Bellinger in left. And I don't know. It depends what you want to do with Trent Grisham. I'm not opposed to bringing him back. I know after the postseason, a lot of people turned on him and said they shouldn't bring him back. I wouldn't be pissed if they did. If they did, then he's your center fielder. If not, then I guess you put Cody in center and Jason in left, or vice versa. You can keep Cody in left and then Jason in center, since Jason came up playing center field anyway. I guess that's what you do. And then Stanton DHs. That's my outlook for next year generally, but yeah, I'm definitely in on Murakami, bro. Absolutely. I'm still so upset I did not get to see him play in Japan when we went to Japan in May, because I was at that game where his team, the Swallows, the Occult Swallows, they were playing the Yomiuri Giants at the Tokyo Dome when I was there, and he was hurt at the time, so I didn't get to see him play. That would have been so cool. But he's officially being posted this offseason to be signed. Early indications say the Yankees, Mets, and Phillies will be the most aggressive for him. I want the Yankees to get this guy so badly. I don't care that he was hurt a lot last year. I want them to get him so badly. He'd be terrific here. I just have a great feeling about it. I'm not sure he'll land here. Maybe he'll go to the Mets if the Mets let Pete Alonso walk. I don't think they should. Pete's their guy. And he had himself a very nice year. So if he goes back there, then, I guess they could have him play third. But, I mean, I would want him at first for the Yankees. I really do. And the Phillies, goodbye, whatever. So I really hope that Murakami ends up being a Yankee. That's the way I want it. So then you get your bullpen help. Those are my vague thoughts about how to look ahead for the winter now that the Yankees are done. But going on forward, guys, I really couldn't care less, like I said in the open, what happens from here on out with the playoffs. It's Blue Jays and Mariners and Brewers and Dodgers. I think the World Series is probably going to be the Blue Jays against the Dodgers. That's my prediction. I don't know how right or wrong I'll be, but we'll see. So that's the consensus, guys. Another year ending in disappointment. I said it after they were eliminated, and I'll say it again. This Yankee regime right now, since 2009, you can almost entirely bet the farm on them making the playoffs. They always have a team that's built to make the playoffs. But you can almost equally bet the farm on them not making it to the end and being the last team standing. They're built to make the playoffs, not to make it all the way through the playoffs. Philosophy-wise, player-wise, roster-wise, regardless of what you want to say, that's just how it is. And it's hard to believe that they will change that. Maybe adding Murakami, getting Bellinger back, just making the team even more dominant and fixing the bullpen, that could certainly, it can't hurt. Certainly can't hurt. But I don't know, guys. I'm starting to lose faith that this is going to end anytime soon, this drought. 16 years. And I know other fans of other teams would kill for a drought that tiny, but for us Yankee fans, that's all I can say. It's a drought at this point. Other than when the Highlanders first came around in 1903, and then the Yankees would win the World Series in 1923, and then also the gap from 78 to 96, which it's fast approaching that drought too. This is, it's getting to scary levels, the World Series drought. You're a couple of years away from it being about to match the biggest World Series drought in the 120-plus year history of the Yankees organization. So, take that which is. We head into the offseason. What can I tell you? So that's my prediction the rest of the way out. Blue Jays and the Dodgers. Even if it's the Mariners and the Dodgers, like I said, it doesn't really matter because I think either way the Dodgers win. So I don't care who the American League opponent is. I could be wrong about the Blue Jays and the Mariners. I think it'll be the Jays. But regardless of who it is, I think they're going to lose to the Dodgers. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. But that's that, guys. It was Aaron Judge and Ryan McMahon in the lineup. Especially Judge. His team let him down this time. Finally acted like the captain this postseason, did what he had to do. Hit that big game-tying home run, and which led to them, getting some life. Doing an unbelievable comeback. Yeah, the rest of the team, except for, I guess, Ryan McMahon a bit in the lineup, just they abandoned him. Completely abandoned him. Bullpen was not good enough for the vast majority of the year and really did them in a lot of times, even in the postseason at times, and the starting rotation ultimately fell apart. And that's it. Another year, Another humiliating postseason elimination for the Yankees. Annual simulation, I call it. With that being said, guys, that's about all I have. I mean, over 2 hours of content for you. My God, is that enough for you? Just had to do an overall recap of the season. That's it. This is putting 2025, yet another season, to bed. But with that being said, with episode 266 coming to a close today, before I get to my usual wrap-ups, I do want to take a second to thank you all once again very, very much for joining me for yet another awesome season of Yankees coverage here on Yapping Yankees. Again, it was definitely the most inconsistent season as far as my coverage and the episodes and the frequency at which they came out. But 2025 was a year of a lot of craziness for me. I moved. I got engaged last weekend. I took the Series 7 multiple times. A lot of things happened. Crazy, crazy year for me. And it's still ongoing. It's not done yet. I'm still planning on taking the Series 7 again for a third time to try to pass it. And things are moving and shaking. Going to have an engagement party in a couple of months and, continue to put stuff together for a wedding. Probably in 2027 we're talking about. So life is moving, man. It is ever moving in my late 20s here. So I did the best I could this year. Ultimately, we got through the 2025 season regardless of how inconsistent the episodes were. And I couldn't thank you enough for being such a big part of yet another awesome season of coverage for Yapping Yankees, of the Yankees season once again, and postseason. This was the 7th season of coverage. That's no small thing, guys. Most people don't do podcasts for that long. So, covered most of the 2019 season, 2020, and all the craziness that went down with that, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 2025 now. 7 seasons worth of coverage on this show. I'm very proud of that. And heading towards the upper 200s in episodes and the time length of most of them, so God knows you have enough content to last you a lifetime if you never grow tired of Yapping Yankees, so that's great. And the reason why I say that in particular is not to leave it on a sort of sour note, but I've hinted at this and even briefly mentioned it in recent weeks, but I'm not so sure I'm going to do a full-on Yapping Yankees season next year in 2026. I've been brainstorming a way to really move this more towards live streaming and just doing live streaming content as opposed to just like authentic podcast episodes like this. So we'll see. I'm going to do more thinking about that as the winter goes along, but until that point where I make that official decision, I'll keep on popping out maybe a few more episodes during the offseason as things happen week by week. But for now, you'll at least get a few more Yapping Yankees episodes until the point where I potentially put this to bed and move to more of a live streaming format where I'll still be putting out content. So there's that. It's not like I'll be disappearing altogether. It's just Yapping Yankees will be put to bed and I'll be sort of moving more towards something else. And I've loved doing this podcast, guys, but also admittedly so, part of me wants my Sunday nights back. Crucify me for that. I've done this a lot of years and popped out an ungodly amount of content doing it, and I'm very proud of it. We'll do some thinking about that in the coming weeks. But I couldn't be more happy about how 2025, yet another successful season of coverage turned out, and the love and support that you all showed for it every step of the way as you did for all of the prior seasons. We've been through a lot together. We've covered a lot together. We've yapped about a lot together. And it's been a hell of a lot of fun. But I am going to take a bit of a break after this because after this long of an episode and just how numb and disappointing and just depressing yet another freaking humiliating end to another Yankees year is, I just kind of honestly, just being really honest about it, I want to take a break from talking about them for a while. I am still I don't miss them right now, just like I didn't miss them after the World Series last year because I was so sickened by them after how that all ended. I kind of am just all for yet another break just after it ends. I don't really care to look at anything Yankees or talk about them for a bit. I'm not in that stage of missing them and aching for baseball just yet. I'm not there yet. Still just in that state of mind after you've been eliminated, you know? So I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. I'll probably be back in the first Sunday of November. That's probably when I'll do my next episode, episode 267, just so you know for my agenda. So that'll be November 2nd. It's actually very interesting because speaking of my big engagement news and everything with me and Victoria, November 2nd is actually the anniversary of when I asked her out, which will be 7 years ago. So it'll be our 7th anniversary next time you hear from me. How interesting is that, right? on the subject of my significant other over there, my fiance now. And I just know she's being all cheesy smiling as I say that right now as she's listening. So, with that being said, though, that's my deal going forward, guys. And that's just 2025 wrapped up, put to bed. As far as the season and postseason are concerned for the Yankees, my plans going forward for the podcast and just for the next couple of weeks. And that's it pretty much, guys. Episode 266 in the books. Over 2 hours and 10 minutes. Is that enough for you? Next episode, since it'll be the first Yankees offseason episode, and just the first offseason episode overall, actually, because now that I think about it, even the World Series will be over by then. Because the latest the World Series could go, if it were to go to a Game 7, would be Saturday, November 1st, the day before that. So it'll be the overall offseason the next time we yap, not even just the Yankees offseason. So the offseason content, the episodes get much shorter than this sort of time length, obviously, so it won't be nearly as long next time. But that's the deal. And that's the latest that the World Series could go, November 1st. And the Mariners and Blue Jays are underway right now. It's the early part of the game, and the Blue Jays are already up 1-0. So there goes that. We'll see how this game and the rest of that series goes. But again, only so much interest in that and the Brewers and Dodgers. Best of luck to the fan bases of all four of those teams, I guess. Whoever wins, wins. Congratulations, I guess. As for Yapping Yankees, guys, again, 266, over and done with. Remember to follow me on all socials. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter, or X, is at Mike Scudero, and my Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all four of the platforms it is available on. That's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment, show your love, spread the word like you all always do such a good job at doing every single episode, my friends. And if you have missed any of the past Yapping Yankees episodes, or in the next couple of weeks that I'm off, you just want to listen back to this one, any other one in the past, well, obviously there's such an extreme bank for you to choose from. The very first episode, all the way back to the beginning, all the way up to episode 266 today. All of those are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you prefer to listen on YouTube, that's also completely fine. I just didn't start uploading there until episode 34. So episode 34 up to 266 today are available on there on YouTube. But once again, as usual, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today, as always, my good friends. I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on the first Sunday of November, November 2nd, when I come at you with episode 267 of Yapping Yankees. And until then, guys, hang in there, be patient, stay safe, look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, like I always remind you to do. Always and forever, kick life's ass. You got this crap, I believe in you. And again, thank you all so much for yet another great season together, guys. I couldn't thank you enough. I really couldn't. I love you guys so much for sticking along with me, especially if you listen to this whole friggin' episode. Bless your heart if you did. And otherwise, just enjoy the rest of the postseason if you have any more interest in it. I'll be watching it. I just don't really have any definitive interest in it. But if you're watching it like me, enjoy the rest. And we shall yap again and get into the details of the offseason once the rest of this postseason is done and the offseason officially takes form after the conclusion of the World Series, whenever that may be. And we have our first offseason episode on Sunday, November 2nd. But until then, guys, take care. And despite how miserable they make us in the postseason for 16 years now, let's go Yanks.